I'm very grateful for this recognition. Thank you. I must mention that the gratitude is not just from me, but from all the organizations that I represent, which is WWF India. I also represent Zero Waste Himalaya. I'm also a member of the IMI, the Integrated Mountain Initiative. So thank you from all of them. All the countless people who have worked with me for the past 20 years that I've been doing this work, of whom my wonderful colleagues are here in the audience. Thanks for being there, guys. So while I accept this award with great humility, I cannot help but wonder if I'm really deserving of this award, because there's just so much more to do, both in terms of enhancing our knowledge, but also matched by action on the ground. So there's just so much that still needs to be done when it comes to environment and conservation. The pressures at every level seem too big, and whatever efforts that we are trying to match up with seems too small. And it just does not seem to match up at times. So it's very frustrating also in this line of work most of the time. So report cards on the environment reveal that we are failing our rich biodiversity. Globally, WWF's Living Planet report of 2022 shows a 69% decline in relative abundance of wildlife populations that they've been monitoring since 1978. So globally also there is a big decline in biodiversity. If we look at Sikkim, Sikkim of course has 31% of its area which is under protected areas. This itself is unmatched. No other state actually has this figure. But we also know that wildlife have no boundaries. They do not know what a protected area is and what a non-protected area is. So it is also important that we understand what the non-protected areas have, and we have equal protection measures also for this area, and that we have measures to safeguard those. Our developmental priorities should not be at the cost of nature, our own water security, and biodiversity. The visuals from Himachal Pradesh, I guess, are fresh on everybody's minds. We've seen all those visuals on our mobiles, on our TVs for the past few days. There is warning in those visuals for all other mountain states, including Sikkim. Of course, much of what is happening is certainly because of changes that are happening at a global scale, climate change, warming, etc. But we cannot also deny that this is also heavy human interference in fragile ecosystem, that it also has a big role to play. And it is known that well-conserved spaces are more resilient when things come pouring down, and we know that things are going to pour down. We don't know when, but we know that we are in a fragile state. So Sikkim's development trajectory is what will determine the fate of the state and its people in the near future. Honorable Sir, for the past 5 years, we have been conducting the Himalayan cleanup across the mountain states, conducting waste and brand audits to look at plastic pollution and to really raise our voices against plastic pollution. Sikkim and Darjeeling have been the front runners of this campaign, the Himalayan cleanup. Our waste audits show that more than 90% of the trash that we are collecting in our cleanups is just plastic, of which over 80% is non-recyclable plastic, meaning these are plastic which have absolutely no solution. So this is the main reason why our landfill right now is exploding, is overfilled, our waterways are choked, our forests are littered, and why our waste managers are struggling. Companies are flooding us with problematic plastics that have absolutely no solution. There is an extended producer responsibility under which companies are supposed to take responsibility, but the implementation of this has been very weak in the mountain states, and this is something that we really need to look at. Because if companies can take so much effort to bring their waste all the way up to our mountains, feeding us junk and whatnot, and for their profit, they should also put similar efforts to take it back or provide support in managing it at the very least. And no company actually is looking at the mountain states at this moment. For them, it is more convenient to pick waste from Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, because then that's where it's cheaper for them. They're not looking at mountain states. There have, however, been systemic shortcomings as well. Waste has always remained a very low priority for everyone, and now we have reached a state of crisis. So the overfill landfill is proof that centralized solutions do not work. that our waste management system should move beyond collection, transport, and centralized dumping. The vision should be of reducing the landfill load, which can be achieved by decentralized management at ward levels with proper source segregation. Source segregation has been mandated by law for the last I don't know how many years, but we still have not been able to really crack it. Bulk generators such as hotels, institutions need to take care of their waste because the law mandates that they have to take care of their own waste. If we are collecting and everything is being centralized and dumped somewhere, then obviously we will be in a crisis state. But we also need champions at all levels to lead by example, and here, if the honorable elected representatives could take lead, it would indeed be path-breaking, sir. So if I can make a humble submission, I had mentioned Minto Gang also, but if Minto Gang and the VIP colony could lead by setting up waste segregation units and composting of all biodegradables, so that no waste from these spaces reach the already overfilled 32 number landfill, that would be a great example for others to emulate. So one insight from the cleanup is also that we found less plastic water bottles this year, and as well as there is a dip in single-use plastics. So it does mean that if there is a ban in place and if it is properly implemented, it does show some results. So our waste audit is showing that from last year to this year, there is a dip in water bottles as well as single-use plastics. But sir, I want to spend a few minutes to highlight an issue that goes beyond plastic waste. There is a greater danger that is lurking, which has been shown by the waste audit. A scary insight for Sikkim this year is more than 90% of the plastic is just coming from food packaging. This is a frightening but very clear indication of what we are eating and what our children are eating. Junk food consumption is on the rise. Everybody knows it's high sugar, it's high salt, high trans fat, and it's linked with non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, hypertension. There's a close link between junk food and NCDs, as they call. And it is scary to think of what the future holds for these children who are consuming these products day in and day out. Bottles of Sting, so a very cheap energy drink, I think everybody would know Sting, has gone up by 22% from last year. So what we found last year, there is a 22% increase in the Sting bottles that we've been picking up in different locations. It is a drink not recommended for children, yet children are the ones who are buying this drink and consuming it. If they have the money, they will consume even 1 or 2 bottles of Sting every day. This needs to be questioned and challenged. So it has come down to each one of us now to make the right decisions for the health of our families and take a step back from eating ultra-processed junk food. Our mountain food cultures are rich and nutritious and healthy and unpackaged. It doesn't come in plastic packaging. Plus, they support our local organic farmers. So switching from plastic packaged, processed, healthy, unhealthy food to local, healthy, unpackaged food would be a positive step for both the planet and for ourselves. It is time to go beyond the 3 R's that we have grown up with. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Everybody knows this by heart. Nobody practices it. Of course, that's another thing. But these 3 R's are now no longer enough to combat what we are faced with. So I leave you with 3 new R's to think about and mull upon. First R, resist. Resist the clever ads and gimmicks that companies use, pushing us to buy more and more products that we don't even need. Everything is just going to end up in 32 number, which we know is already in a sorry state. Refute what companies claim. They lie all the time. Read the labels instead. None of us read labels. None of us read labels, especially when it comes to food. So please, I request everyone, please read the labels of whatever you're putting into your bodies. They will tell you the whole story of what is in that food. More labels are there in a product, don't consume it. It's easy, just refuse it. So refute is the second R, and the third R is reclaim. Let us reclaim our traditional spaces. We had a lovely poem on that. We borrowed, we shared, we reused such a lot. Let's reclaim those spaces. Let's push back on junk food and reclaim our food spaces. Our mountain food cultures are so rich, we need to bring those back and reclaim. Let's push back on the single-use mindset. Everything has become single use, from people to the products that we use, and reclaim the sustainable lifestyles that mountain communities have always lived. Sikkim as a small state has been a trailblazer, and I am very sure that we can become a model for zero waste. So thank you, Press Club of Sikkim, once again for giving me this opportunity and the award. Thank you so much.
चिया लिनुहोस् गए 1 महिनादेखि खनिराख्नुभएछ कारण अन्तिम समय सास लिने अघि यहाँको पूर्वजले भनेका थिए कि घरको आँगनमा गार्दन दबिएको छ अरे गार्दन त छोडो एउटा चम्मचसम्म भेटिएको छैन
यहाँको पूर्वजले यहाँको भाग्य बदलाउन सक्ने छैनन् तर नागाल्यान्ड डियर लोटरीले अवश्य भाग्य चम्काउनेछ पहिलो पुरस्कार 2.5 करोड रुपियाँ ग्यारेन्टी दोस्रो पुरस्कार 1 करोड रुपियाँ अरू पनि धेरै पुरस्कारहरू छन् टिकटको मूल्य 500 रुपियाँ लागि ड्र 20 मई 2023 पहिलो पुरस्कार केवल बिक्री भएका टिकटबाट लटरी डियर त किस्मतले गर्छ चियर